What's up, Malibu Sean? Cool. So y'all are welcome to join me on YouTube or Twitch. So I just started my stream on my computer. So if I'm like looking this way, uh, you can see that's what I'm looking at. But I'll check over here for questions as well. Feel free to drop a question, anything in programming related, investing, career switchers. If you want to learn to code, that's like one of my main things. So let me know. Hello, everyone who's joining. Thanks for tuning in. So this is a working session. It'll be 30 minutes to 2 hours, something like that. And I am working on my base course, which is Understanding the Master Plan. The Latterly base course, latterly.io. And the first section of that is why tech and why code. So why tech? Tech is a little bit unique. Why tech? Unique because of no decreasing marginal return in aggregate economy. So let's pull up the Cobb-Douglas equation. Cobb-Douglas equation. Q equals F of LK. And here you can see that simplification is missing the A, the technology factor. So here in this image, you can see the A. Let's go to the Wikipedia, that might be helpful. Yep. Y is AL to the beta, K to the alpha. And so A is technology. Total factor productivity is technology. So what this means is, if you have more and more people, cooks in the kitchen, right? Too many cooks, you're not going to get a benefit out of it. In fact, you could actually get decreased productivity from squeezing too many cooks in your kitchen. That would be the L. K is capital. So thinking about a kitchen again, capital would be like stoves, right? You go from one stove, two stoves. Maybe you have a better stove, a higher quality stove, so you're investing more money into those stoves. Eventually, it's like, hey, the stoves are good, man. Our constraining factor isn't the stoves anymore. It's like, the knives or something else, or the customers. Like, we don't have enough customers. What you almost so it's like little help, less, and actually you can actually get to a negative situation. Think about like there's no room in your kitchen anymore because it's just stoves everywhere. You never run into that problem with technology. With technology, more is better. So when you translate this into industry, this means that there's going to be more investors. It's going to be a more valuable industry. Cobb-Douglas is one example. But there's like a bunch of these production functions. That's just one. So the industry is going to be worth more. And since the industry is worth more, the employees of that industry can pay more, can receive a higher salary, and also a higher employment rate. So the employment rate in tech is really, really high. And among programmers, it's even higher. Tech unemployment hits 2.4%, roughly half the current national unemployment rate, 5.5. This is DICE. Let's look in programming specifically. Unemployment. Okay, I don't know. This is studentscholarships.org. It's saying 2.6%. Looks like kind of a spammy site, to be honest. So maybe it's roughly the same. Maybe programming and tech are roughly the same, around the 2.4, 2.5, 2.6 mark. Gwenny says, hello, what's happening here? Hey, thanks for joining. So I'm working on my program. Latterly.io is a course where you can learn how to code. And this is a working session where I'm talking through the first section of the curriculum, which is called the master plan. streaming to TikTok, and then also YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn. So what is the master plan? This is like, before I teach you HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, I want you to have the big picture. Like, why even care about programming? Why even care about tech? So that is what I call the master plan. So we're starting out with just an overview of the tech industry and why the tech industry is awesome. So one is, it's the only factor of production that doesn't have decreasing marginal return. It also has better salary, better employment rate. And that is due to the aforementioned. Oh, let me put that link there. A third reason is that technology is cross-cutting. So you can have, oop, you froze. No, am I frozen? Let me know if I'm unfrozen. I don't feel frozen. So technology is a horizontal industry. It's cross-cutting. So you can be in healthcare and be in technology. You can be in charity and be in technology. You can be in environmental science and be in the technology aspect of the environmental science industry, right? Bioinformatics. I'm back. Awesome. You can be in education and you can be in the technology side of education. You can be in finance and be in the technology side of finance, insurance, so forth. There are also these like pure tech providers like AWS. I don't really know if I believe that. Like, is AWS really pure tech? Like, what would AWS be without the store? Right? What would AWS be if you took like Prime away? So you took the logistics out of it, or you took the food out of it. What is it? HelloFresh, something like that. So I think instead of thinking that it's a pure tech company, I think the smarter way of thinking about it is that it's like in all the industries, or at least a bunch of them. It's in communications, it's in logistics, it's in like grocery stores. What is that called? Retail. So you can basically follow your passions and still be in tech. So there's this idea that like, man, I don't want to get in technology because like I'm not logical, right? Total stereotype, super toxic. And it's not true. You can be artistic and you're going to like flourish in technology. Thank you, right? Like, just think about a website. For an example about how art matters in technology, do you want to have like a super dopey looking website, or do you want to have like a gorgeous website, right? Which website's going to do better? It's going to be the gorgeous one. There's this idea, oh, communication majors are going to do so bad in tech. Fake news. Communication's great in tech. Again, think about a website. If you want to like search in Google, it's going to search the text content on those websites, right? This is called SEO. So if you're good at communication, you're going to be able to get great SEO and digital marketing and like your little digital ads, Facebook ads or whatever. That's all technology, and it's really important and it's really valuable. Even stepping away from like the product side, so that would be the product side, what the consumers are seeing. Communication to your consumer matters. We already established that. But communication really matters internally to the company as well, and to your career progress as a developer. So being able to communicate with your manager or with your peers, or if you are a manager, being able to communicate with your reports. If you're like a director or an executive, being able to communicate with your stakeholders, external business partners, B2B partners, or your investors or your owners. Like, communication is so big in technology. So this whole like us versus them thing like definitely needs to stop. Technology is horizontal. You can use all of that together. It's like friends with all of that. So whatever your passion is, technology is an ally. Tech is an ally, whatever your passion is. Oh, and I'm rocking the Under Armour hat, but I didn't even talk about like health and fitness. Health and fitness and technology are super big together. Okay, so we get it. It's cross-cutting. I think those are the three big reasons. Then there's like better salary, better employment rate, also quality of life, remote work, low stress. You can often leave work early, take big breaks, or whatever, as long as you get your task done. As long as you get tasks done. Time in chair doesn't really matter. So for some industries, your time in the chair matters, right? Sending positive and powerful vibes. Thank you, Music Free Cola. Appreciate that. But y'all get this, right? For some industries, for some occupations, your time in the chair, that's like a metaphor. You may not be in the chair. But your time physically working matters. Like think about if you're like a logger or like a construction worker or like a bricklayer or if you're into lawn care. These are physical activities. If you're not physically working, you're not being productive. You're not making money. And it's going to be a problem. Like your manager is going to get annoyed. In programming, if you get your task done, that's so there's typically this thing called Agile. It's like 2-week sprints. So you'll plan 2 weeks of work at a time, usually. That can vary. But basically, if you knock out your work, you have a huge amount of breathing room. And this is like very open. Just talk to your manager. It's not like you need to be sneaky or hide it. I think your manager is going to encourage you. Like absolutely, by all means, get it done and leave early. It becomes a motivation thing, and it's a win-win. It's all about finding win-wins. Cool. So let's go back to the curriculum. So why tech and why code? So we talked about why tech. I think it's worth noting that lots of non-code tech roles. What if you're like, hey, I'm a people person, you know? Coding is not so much my thing. I like talking with people. Well, you can be tech sales. Tech sales is great for extroverts. There's also product management, business analysis. Business analysis might seem kind of geeky, but they're often talking, it's a largely social role. And this relates to the degree question as well. Do I need a degree? So first of all, you don't need a degree. No degree needed. But if you do get a degree, it can just be something simple and easy and affordable, like a business degree. But affordable business degrees. My little bro is a business analyst, and I have no idea what he does. Business analysts can... Oh, this is Jason. What's up, Jason? Hey, thanks for dropping in, man. Business analysts do all kinds of different things at different companies. One thing that's really common is they'll look over information that your users provide. Like, you ever get those surveys like, would you recommend this pumpkin spice latte? On a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you? Would you recommend it to a friend? Business analysts are largely the ones consuming that data and correlating it to changes. Like, oh, we upped the syrup. It's a little sweeter now. Did the consumers like it or not? That's like a business analyst role to figure out that question. Or to even administer the survey and even come up with the questions. Like, what survey questions do we want to put on the survey? That's like totally a business analyst thing. So there's a lot of non-coding tech roles. Scrum Master is a really great one. If you're into working with people, a Scrum Master is kind of like a coordinator. They're basically like a really, really awesome. If you're a Scrum Master, this might sound a little mean, but just know that I appreciate you in my heart. They're a really effective meeting coordinator. And there's a lot more to it than that, but that's boiling it down to kind of explain like I'm 5 language. So tech sales, product management, business analysis, Scrum Master, those are all kinds of roles that you can get into without a technical coding background. But I would encourage you to code. I think there's a bunch of negative stereotypes about programmers out there. Like, programmers are logical, they're not emotional, they're not creative. That's like all fake news. Creativity is a huge asset if you're a coder. Coders are hard to work with. Like, they have negative personalities. That can be true. Like, toxic engineers are a thing, but those aren't good engineers, right? Yeah, you might run into that, and I would just be like, switch companies. Everyone's hiring coders. You can just switch companies and find people who are fun to work with. So I would say give it a shot. Let's go over specifically why coding. So let's go over the salary stuff. That's a big deal. Let's check out Indeed.com. Let's look up software engineer. Okay, so on the screen in front of me, you can see that for software engineer, there are 180,000 jobs currently in the United States available on Indeed. Let's look at JavaScript developer. So JavaScript, it's like a specific kind of software engineer. So there's 64,000 JavaScript developers, so about a third. Let's look at Python engineer. That'll also often be called data engineer. So here, Python engineer is getting about 90,000 results. So Python's great. PHP, that's another, there's PHP developer. Only about 8,000 results. Oof, ouch. Let's do tech sales. 12,000 results for tech sales. Let's do Scrum Master. Only a couple thousand for Scrum Master. And this will be the last one, and then we'll move on. Business analyst. Business analyst, we have 34,000. Okay, so tech sales, business analyst, and Scrum Master, if you put those all together, it was less than JavaScript engineer or JavaScript developer. So do you see why I would, that's a job availability standpoint, why I would go for coding first over the others. The others will work, but I would push you to coding first. If you don't like it, then switch. Give it a shot though. So that's the job availability standpoint, but like what about salary? Because just because a job's available doesn't mean you want it, right? You want to balance the employment rate with the salary expectations. And what we're going to find is that the story is the same. So let's go to Glassdoor and let's look for React developer. Java is pretty big in my area in .NET. Absolutely. Yeah, Java, .NET, great ones. I'm not a .NET expert. Don't change your career based on this. But I think in the coming year, .NET is going to have a surprising uptick. And that's a surprise to me because I'm not a fan of using .NET, to be honest. But I think in terms of employability, it's going up for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. Cool, so here we go, Glassdoor. Just trying to get some average salary information. You know what? Let me do my Google query differently. I'll just straight up Google React developer salary. Talent.com says the average React developer salary in the US is $120K per year. Isn't that amazing? I think that immediately puts you in the top 5 or 10% of salary earners in the US. What is US salary, US income distribution? Half of income is earned by households with income over 100 grand, and half is under. So that's a household. So that could be 1 or 2 earners. Learning JavaScript and React concurrently. Highly recommend that. That's exactly what I recommend. Good for you. All of the government agencies are using it here, and Java for most business, finance, and insurance. Yep. Java is an extremely performant language, and it's also quite... I've literally never met a JS or React engineer. Jason, yes, you have, dude. You're looking at him. A lot of us don't identify that way. So I would just call myself a software engineer. But JavaScript and React are my 2 best tools. Okay, arguably TypeScript, but the thing is TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. So they're almost interchangeable, not quite. But if you're an advanced JavaScript engineer, you should know TypeScript. Um, yeah. This is an interesting point, right? So JavaScript is actually the most popular programming language. Over 70% of software engineers know JavaScript, but the, we usually don't identify as a JavaScript developer. That is a thing, but it's a minority. Like my first full-time engineering role, I was a JavaScript developer, but I quickly grew out of that role and just became um, software developer. But I was still using JavaScript mainly at first. How did you learn TypeScript? From Angular. So Angular 2 plus, TypeScript is like automatic. It's like native. It's like default. So, you know, when Angular 2 plus came out, so like 5 years ago, Angular JS, or maybe 10 years ago at this point, gosh, time flies. Angular JS was like the predominant framework. And then Angular 2 plus came out, and it was a breaking change, and tons of employers started hiring for that skill set because they wanted to do migrations. So that's exactly how I learned Angular. And in learning Angular, I learned TypeScript. And it was just a learning by doing kind of thing. You know, you just do some Hello World projects in Angular, and for me anyway, it wasn't that hard. I really don't think it's that hard. If you know JavaScript, the learning curve to Angular is, I think, pretty small. Hey Jason, let me know if you want to go live, if you want to jump up here and talk. I think if you're learning React, then the learning curve to TypeScript might be a little bit higher, because in React world, TypeScript is a second-class citizen. And I think that's changing, but I think that's still true today. So if you're going to create React app, I guess that's a good way to learn in React world. There is a TypeScript flag. Just when you use the command line to create a new application, you use the TypeScript flag, and it will spin up create React app in TypeScript mode. So do that and poke around, and that's going to be an easy way for you to learn. I would never use that in production, but as a learning tool, I think it's pretty good. The real tool that you want to use is Next.js. Okay, no sweat. The real tool that you want to use for React these days is Next.js. So adoption on that is trending up, but it's still not like the most common tool, but it should be, because it's way better than the older tools. And there's also something called Blitz.js, which arguably should be called Blitz.ts because it's TypeScript, and that's on top of Next. Super awesome tool. I'll take a quick minute to plug my my own website, latterly.io. My next book covers Next.js. Awesome. How is it switching from Angular to React? So switching from Angular to React, not gonna lie, it's a little bit of a mind fuck. But it's worth it. The paradigms in Angular and React are very different. So Angular is like a opinionated framework that tells you how to do everything, from how to submit a request, manage state, share data and services, define a component using classes. Classes are not even primary in React these days. Functional components with hooks are the main paradigm. Hey, Jason, let me ask you this. If you're using Angular, are you using RxJS or no? So that's going to be a difference in the learning curve. If you're using RxJS, then switching over to React is going to be a little easier, because RxJS follows kind of a functional paradigm, the pub/sub paradigm. Yeah, the switchover is pretty rough, but you can do it. Just make sure you're good on your JavaScript, because React is actually going to be closer to the metal in terms of closer to how plain JavaScript works compared to Angular. And I would say if you're switching from Angular, try to pick up, oh, I barely do front end, whichever is older. Okay. I would also say if you're switching from Angular to React, use Blitz.js. Is there somewhere I can post that? I don't know. Use Blitz.js, because Blitz.js is actually, yeah, I want to build a personal app with React. Do it. I recommend you use Blitz.js. DM me if there's anything confusing. Vercel for hosting. Yeah, that's probably what I'd recommend. There's another thing called Railway that's pretty cool. They'll give you a free database as well for now. Um, so Blitz is going to be better because it is more opinionated like Angular. And you can actually, and it has a command line tool like Angular. So like in Angular, you'll generate your new component or whatever. Blitz can do that. So that's going to feel familiar to you. Where if you're in plain React, you don't really have that. Top 10% of individual earnings, 125K in the US in 2019. Yeah, so if you're an average React developer, you're basically in the top 10%. That's not quite true, but that's pretty much true. Also, remember the 120 is an average for React developers. You can get easily a lot higher than that. Like, not to flex, but I'm a lot higher than that. Okay, so I would encourage you to code. And ease of entry is the other thing. So with programming, you just need a portfolio. For a business analyst, or it's pretty common, or product management, it's pretty common they're going to want you to have a degree, although they do accept business degrees. Scrum Master, if you're certified, sometimes you don't need the degree. With programmer, if you have a portfolio, you don't need a degree. If you don't have a portfolio, they're going to ask you for a degree. So that's the main two reasons that I would encourage you to go for code. One, ease of entry, no degree needed as long as you have a GitHub portfolio. And two, top salary and job opportunities, even compared to the other already lucrative tech opportunities. Let's see, John, what do you think of this? Book you're writing. I love books even though they can be dated quickly. I use books and supplement. I'm using Head First right now to learn JS and YouTube. Such a good point, John. What do you think of this? Regarding books becoming outdated quickly. Yeah, I don't really read books. I know, hey, if books are your thing, read them. Let me not, piss in anyone's Cheerios. That's the totally weird saying, right? If it works for you, do it. But I have a PhD and I'm kind of tired of reading. I did my reading for my life, is how I feel. I like to keep up on podcasts. A couple podcasts that I can recommend: the Log Rocket podcast. Let me find. There's another really good one, but I can't think of the guy's name, so I'm going to Google that real quick. Yeah, Jason Langsdorff on YouTube. This guy, awesome podcast. Jason, how do you spell that? Link? Lengstorff. Lengstorff. Langsdorff. Jason Langsdorff. Learning by, you know what? Let me get out of the realm of opinion and go back to data. So learning by doing is the most effective way to learn. And I actually just dropped a TikTok on this. Somebody asked, "Hey John, how do I get good at back-end development?" Oh, I have a PhD in economics. Thanks for asking. And specifically, I studied the labor market for alternative credentials. So a portfolio, like a GitHub portfolio, is considered an alternative credential. It's not accredited like a 4-year degree. So I literally studied people like getting into professions without a degree, like from an economics point of view. Like what are employers looking for? What are the bottlenecks and stuff like that? Yeah, yeah. It's one of the unique things I bring to the table. So I'm going to say things that are you should get into algo trading. Jason, let's talk about that because I might be down. I think a lot of the economic view on this is that what happens in the short term is basically noise, and that you want to trade the long term. And I definitely do invest, and I do trade the long term. And I got into crypto in 2012, so I've made pretty good money. And I'm also into real estate. But Jason, I know you're really cool with this like bot trading stuff, and I don't have much experience there, so I'd love to talk to you about that. Yeah, so I just offer a little different perspective than, let's say you're going to YouTube and talking to tech lead. You're like, hey, tech lead, how can I get a FANG job? I agree with them sometimes, but we're going to have some different opinions sometimes. Like I really push on people for soft skills. So whether you're a college graduate, self-taught, boot camp grad, it doesn't matter. Employers see all of these groups at the junior level have a deficit of soft skills. What do I mean by soft skills? Communication skill, assertiveness, and there are gender effects here that are important. I'm currently writing a paper. We know diversity is important, and we know that women are underrepresented in programming, and this is a problem, okay? So I'm currently writing a paper on gender effects in programming, and one of the things and I'm going to present this in November, by the way, in the Southern Economic Conference. One of the things that we know is that assertiveness training really helps. So Latterly.io, I'll plug it again. If you learn to code with me, I'm going to push on soft skills and ask the people that I've placed. I've placed a couple younger people already this year into their first job roles. And when you're in your job search step, assertiveness, I don't mean being rude. It's not the same thing. But being confident and being assertive and saying, this is what I would like. What can you do? How can we get from A to B? Not being combative, but being assertive in a professional way is a huge asset, and it's a soft skill. And it's a thing that a lot of programmers lack. Okay, so let's move on. Why tech and why code? I think I've explained that. So the next one would be comparing colleges, boot camps, coaches, and self-teaching. Hey, great. We were kind of on that a little bit, right? So in common, employers see tech skills. There is a belief among bootcamp grads, so that employers think that bootcamp graduates have better technical skills. They really don't. Employers don't think that. It may be true. It may be true that bootcamp grads have tech skills and college grads don't have tech skills. But what's true and what employers believe are two different things. And if we know anything in economics, it's that value is subjective. And if you want a job, you need to appeal to the employer's perception. Okay? You can't just say, hey, I know, therefore. You need to be able to communicate that and get them to believe that. So this is, again, about communication and persuasion as much as it is about tech skill, right? Throw something in the chat if you felt that. I know y'all felt that. Okay. So colleges, boot camps, coaches, and self-teaching. With a college, you're going to have a long time horizon. So there's quick learners and slow learners. If you're a slow learner, college is probably a good fit for you. If you're a quick learner, self-teaching or boot camps are a good fit for you. You're going to maximize your return on investment to educational spending, right? Because boot camp, on average, is cheaper than college. And you're cutting out unnecessary fluff. So let's call a spade a spade. If you're learning to code because you want a programming job, then you're getting a very minor benefit for a large expense when you take that European history elective, right? So, like, that's the whole value proposition of boot camps. A couple of things that I've noticed here. One is when you self-teach, and this is what I did. People are undervaluing their own time. So when I was learning to code, I was getting paid a low hourly rate, and I was teaching myself in my spare time. If I had learned more quickly, I could have gotten to a high hourly rate faster. Basically, it took me a year to teach myself enough code to get a job. But with somebody who is in a boot camp or somebody who is with a good coach, they can learn in as little as 3 months, and really it shouldn't take them more than six months. If it takes you more than 6 months and you're with a good boot camp or a good coach, then you might. It's not like you're bad or anything. It's just like you might be a slow learner, and that's totally okay. But then maybe you should go to college. I'm not a quick learner, but I'm very thorough. Whittington says, here for the free jobs. What's up, Whittington? Hey, if you want to hop on the chat, if you want to hop on the live video, let me know. I'm not a quick learner, but I'm very thorough. It's a two-edged sword. Let me tell you, from the economic side, you could be doing something that a lot of engineers do. 6 months is about right. Failing interviews is how I learned to code. You know, that's funny, but it's true. And I'm right there with you, Jason. I wouldn't say I learned to code from failing interviews, but I learned how to interview from failing interviews. And actually, that's a huge motivational win, I think. Motivation is half the battle in this thing, or more. And how can you stay motivated when you keep failing interviews? Put on a growth mindset and put on the glass is half full. Every interview is a learning experience. Even if you fail it, you're still learning how to interview, and that's a win. Interviewing.io is a website that I recommend for anyone who's targeting a FANG job. And you can do real interviews with real Facebook, Google employees, real FANG employees. And they will charge you hundreds of dollars, even on sale, still $100 for a single interview. So what that means is, even if you do a real interview, not a mock interview, a real interview, and if you fail it, you still got like over $100 in value, right? So it's still a win. Cool. Motivation is big. Let's get back to this topic. Comparing, for all of them, in common, employers see soft skill deficit. Differences. College has a long learning horizon, lower educational spend ROI. And let's be honest, college is for the privileged because it has a lower educational spend ROI, higher cost, debt load, and a lot of us just can't afford it. A lot of us just can't afford college. However, that's kind of changing. Not that college is getting any cheaper, but because Guild Education partners with Walmart, Target, now Amazon, and others, can't remember who all they've partnered with, to offer totally free college to all associates, even part-time. So my recommendation is, if you're going to get a college degree, and I do recommend people get a college degree. I think some people read my work and they get the misperception that I'm against the degree. I think you should get a degree, but I think you should get your employer to pay for that degree. That's how you're going to maximize your return on educational investment spending. So get your employer to pay for the degree, spend as little out of pocket as you can, and that includes taking on loans. Minimize your loans. And that's how you're going to maximize your return on investment. Also, graduate as quickly as you can. Forget the statistic now, but I think it's more than half of four-year enrollees don't graduate in 4 years. They graduate in 5 or 6 years. So if you can graduate in 4 years or even 3 years, you're way shooting up your return on investment. And that really makes the degree totally worth it. And it does improve your hireability, employer willingness to hire. It does improve it. You don't need a degree, but it does help. So don't get tricked into thinking that the degree doesn't help. It totally cool. So college has a long learning horizon, lower educational spend, bunch of negatives, right? But it does help. Boot camps. Here's a problem I've seen with boot camps. Boot camps are a one size fits all pace. Are fast, cheaper, but one size fits all pace. And a lot of my clients that I end up coaching, not a lot of them, they've either been through or sometimes they're even concurrently enrolled in a boot camp. And I'm just there to fill in the cracks. And it's really helpful because a lot of them, a lot of the boot camps are using this one size fits all pace, and some people are left behind and they don't have the time and sometimes they don't have the expertise. The teachers, really not trying to be disparaging here, but sometimes the teachers in boot camps are not qualified for an intermediate level role as a full-time developer. So that is to say, sometimes the teachers aren't great teachers. Sometimes they don't have the expertise themselves. So self-teaching can be great, but I also see people getting stuck in like tutorial hell, where they're just doing tutorial over and over and they never actually progress into the interviews. Maybe they think, oh, all I need is the skill and the jobs will just show up. That's not how it is. Interviewing and the job search is its own skill set. That's just as important as your ability to code. Self-teaching can be great, but you need to be smart and self-driven. Not many are. You can get stuck in tutorial hell. You can miss major concepts without realizing it and end up taking even longer to land your first job. And then coaching costs money. I think that's the negative there. Self-teaching can be free, potentially. Can be free out of pocket, but don't ignore time costs. Cost money, can do deferred payment. So it doesn't need to be money out of pocket. You can do deferred payment. Yeah, like 5-year average. 5 years versus 5 months, right? Sometimes the bootcamp teachers, TAs, are former bootcamp graduates. They hire to pad the numbers. That's 100% true. And their career services, ditto. Sometimes the career services will be graduates that didn't land a job. That's why I use books for guidance and topics. Good. I hope it helps. And if it helps, great. I think social networks, don't sleep on social networks, even if it's a book study group, right? And TikTok is a whole social network. I've been surprised how effective the tech community on TikTok is. Follow Whittington. You can follow me and Jason. And there's a hashtag DevCrew. Is like a whole group of developers using hashtag DevCrew. Go check it out. One Syrian, I think his real name is Lawrence. He's a cool guy. Bunch of cool people over there. Josh Henney. The good thing about coaching is can tailor learning to your speed. I mean, here's another negative. Some coaches are just bad. But some schools and boot camps are too. So that's going to happen kind of regardless. Yeah, that's actually in common. Some learning providers are just that. The other thing about coaching is you can supplement with coaching. It doesn't have to be by itself. Great. Boot camps are fast and cheaper, but one size fits all pace. And teachers and what is it, career services are often non-senior dev quality themselves. Okay, so I think these are some of the important differences. Cool, and then the laterally plug would be, focus on soft skills. And then also focus on tech skills in highest demand. And highest salary and employability. Namely React.js. Finding free virtual tech conferences, but those are quickly going away. The virtual conferences are great, absolutely. TikTok for networking and virtual meetups, great idea. If you can score like merchandise, that's really cool, right? You get like the free stickers or shirts or whatever. Okay, I think that does it for the, let's see, where's my curriculum? I think I've done a fairly good comparison, college bootcamp coaches and self-teaching. Let me also drop one of my scholarly papers here because it's related. So Google Scholar. Okay, and then preliminary attitudinal trends, yes. 3 essays on economics, post-secondary alternative learning. Yeah, I think this will do it. Hireability and educational prestige. Yep, attitudinal trends. Gosh, really, it's like all of them. Cool. Hireability and educational prestige is going to be one of the most important there. Impact of employer educational system assistance on enrollment. Yeah. So, here's some related literature. So I think those are going to be the 2 most important links. Cool. I think that does it for the compare contrast. Let's do understanding community resources. So right now, community resources are pretty straightforward. One is free office hours, such as right now. Feel free to ask a technical question if you want to. This is an ad hoc, but my regular meeting time is 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. So I'll do another one this evening. So stop on by. You can ask me anything coding related. And that's free. That's like free tutoring, basically. That's a community resource. The other is the Latterly Discord. So I'm not going to put the link on here, but if you sign up for latterly.io, it's free to sign up. You'll get a Discord invite. We also have a couple, let's see, there's YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter are the main social locations other than Discord. So YouTube has streams, TikTok has #devcrew, and you can learn. You can also, and tons of free content on my page. Cool, so you can stop by and learn. You can also contribute. Okay, yeah, I'll be wrapping up in the next 5 minutes. DevCrew, tons of free content on my page at John Vanderveer. So you can consume information, you can contribute back, ask questions, interact. It's interactive, right? It's the point of a social network. And Twitter has spaces, which I've learned a ton from. Like, I learned a lot about React Query and Blitz.js from Twitter Spaces. So Twitter Spaces are currently on an ad hoc basis. And then you also get notified of ad hoc streams. So whenever I kick off an ad hoc stream, it sends out a tweet. So you can get an automatic tweet notification and hop on and engage. So that's also John Vanderveer. So these are the community resources at this time. And just in case you're not already familiar with Latterly, this is latterly.io. It will forward you to a Teachable course, latterly.teachable.com. And that's what this stream is for right now. So we're going to wrap it up, outlining front-end path with external resources. These are all going to be great topics. You're not going to want to miss these. So tune in whenever I do my next stream. My very next stream at 7 p.m. See you, Gwynny. Thanks for dropping by. So my next stream at 7 p.m., I'm going to be working on an application. It's going to be the Futurecaster application. Let's see. Right here. So we're going to be working on that. So it's not going to be related to my course at 7 p.m. But sometime this next week, I'll do an ad hoc stream and work on the course some more. So thanks for joining in. And with that, we're going to wrap it up.